but I do have a very protective energy when it comes to women because I have like the women that I grew up with are solid. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They're like they made me. I was serious because of them. You know what I'm saying? So because they were just doing their best to make ends meet, to try to get some respect in this world because women get treated like shit.
I mean, that's just news to me, isn't it, guys? All it would take for you to understand how BS that point is would be to just make a social media account on any platform. Choose your platform. Pretend to be a woman and tell me how different your experience will be, and then come and talk about preferential treatment and how women get treated. Okay? It is absolute BS to say that, guys, women are one of the most privileged groups in society. The fact that people can't see that is beyond me. But what is going on, guys? It is Taylor the Fiend back again with another response video. And on today's show, we're looking at a video submission through the Patreon titled Fresh and Fit Meets with Mike Rashid. Now, before we crack into it, guys, a few caveats here. So this is Mike Rashid. I want to say that's how you say it, Rashid. A very successful man. He's a businessman. He's got his body right, got his finances right. Very very along in life. I believe he comes from an intact family. So when we examine some of his points, I want you to keep those in mind, right? Because this man has a vastly different will have a vastly different dating life, dating experience to the average man. And one thing I will say before we crack in, guys, is as well, if you want to support the channel, make sure you check out the Patreon link in the description. You get access to exclusive videos over there. So if you're looking to get more out of the channel, be sure to go and check out that link in the description. But let's see what these people have to say. And we're going to skip back to when Fresh and Fit are talking a bit more. So we're actually going to get less of this guy's opinion than I would like. But if you guys want to see the full thing, I'm going to leave the link in the description. So feel free to go and show some support on this video. It's a fantastic little podcast section these guys threw together. So let's crack into it.
Like, look at Cardi B. Don't cook, don't clean, but still got a ring. And the problem is that she's indoctrinating so many young women to think this way, that it's okay to be a boss babe or whatever it is. And that's cool. I'm not saying women can't have careers or whatever. But the problem is that a lot of women, if you ask them what they truly want in a man, they want strong, virtuous, masculine men that adhere to traditional masculine standards, but they don't necessarily want to be traditional women. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem.
Well,
before we get into Mike here, that is a huge problem. Right, and that is maybe you guys have seen below the videos where sometimes I write, like in a few videos ago, I wrote, we ain't out here paying for $150 dinner dates in 2021, gentlemen. Right? You know what? Because hey, if these girls don't want to act ladylike, if they want to have the body counts in the hundreds, if they want to come with the attitude, hey guys, you don't need to bring your commitment to the table. In fact, I would advocate for you guys, if you're a guy watching this channel and you're continuing to bring commitment to the table, you have to look at what the girl's bringing. Is she bringing cooperation at the bare minimum? Right? Is she putting work on her body, or does she treat her body like a piece of crap? What's her body count like? Like, why are men expected to fulfill all of these standards, but then you look over at women and it's like they don't have to fulfill crap? And look, at the end of the day, I don't particularly care that it's like that. I think that, look, if you're a man and, you're out of shape and stuff like that, I think sometimes the best thing for you is, a kick in the butt to say, hey, maybe you should be in the gym, eating better, or whatever the case may be. But here's the problem that we have, right? When you want to get into relationships, you can bet your behind I am not putting up with a girl who comes with attitude and doesn't take care of her body and who has slept with the entire town. It's just not happening.
All right, so Cardi B is a superstar.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
She's not a realistic representation.
No, she's not. But I'm saying, like, she's indoctrinating people because, like, people listen to her music.
Right, you have her, but you have Beyonce on the flip side as well, right?
Yep.
I mean, and how's that relevant at all? Right? Myron's point was that these pop stars are indoctrinating women to, don't cook, don't clean, but still have a ring on your finger. Right? And that was his point. Like, what does this guy bring up Beyonce for? I don't particularly understand.
So, but neither of them are good representations of real life. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I think I hear what you're saying, but as you're talking, I'm going through my mental Rolodex of experiences, and I'm like, I've had a couple girls that didn't want to clean or didn't clean or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm not the type of person to say anything.
Yeah.
I just want to see what you're gonna do. I don't want to teach you how to be a woman.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah.
So, and I make my decision based on everything that I observe. But for the most part, that's not what I have. For the most part, the women that I've dealt with in my life, they without anybody saying anything, they fall into the grooves of being the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's your experience, right? Like that experience that he just outlined right there, that is not the case for the majority of men. Now he can choose to either not appreciate that or not. I don't know if he just doesn't see it or whatever the case may be. I think he just doesn't see it, right? And also this man has been indoctrinated to not see it, right? It's all about protecting women and guys. We ain't out here protecting crap. If a girl wants to sleep with the entire town, if she wants to be independent, because make no mistake, independent means independent of men, she can go out there and be independent. Like what the hell am I giving up my protection for? Why would men give up their protection for a girl who has slept with the entire town? Right? And you may be thinking, well, Taylor, not every girl slept with the entire town. Not every blah, 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 blah. Look, it's for the not all police in the comments, guys. If a girl subscribes to the womanist, doctrine, as far as I'm concerned, she can handle life on her own. Go enjoy, right? I'm not out here. I would not expect myself to protect people who deliberately have said that they don't want to be protected, right? Not only that, a lot of these people will come with terrible attitudes. Guys, you have to understand, right, that girls will give you a bad attitude just depending on where you rank, right? If you're a top earner, that's going to help you along. Now, will I say that she won't treat you like crap just because you earn money? No, absolutely not. But it's one element. Let's just say you're over 6 foot, you're earning 6 figures. You're a masculine guy. You don't put up with BS. You're going to have a lot better of an experience than a man who lacks in one or all of those areas, right? Because you always get the guys in the comments like, well, money doesn't solve this, or high looks on everything and blah blah blah. Guys, it's a mixture of everything. It really is. Girls at the end of the day in 2021, they're shooting for the pack. You get all these girls who can't even take care of their damn body, man. Right? Just out drinking every weekend, don't hit the gym at all, have these terrible attitudes, and they still think that they're entitled to men who have their life together. Man, I am not protecting that with a 10-foot pole. Let's continue.
The supportive, caring, I don't fight. I don't do that. Like, the girls that get mad because I won't do all of that. You know what I'm saying? It makes them more angry if I'm like, this is not productive, so I'll wait until you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is this though, right? I feel like what is people's real experience, right? Now I don't disagree with anything that y'all say. I agree with all of these pillars and these tenets, but I don't see it as this big issue. I know that there's motherfuckers out there running amok and doing weird shit, right?
I mean, it would be hard for you to see it as the issue if you're not having the issues, right? And you're not one of those men who is going to run into those issues, right? Because you've been brought up in a way that, this man seems to have a lot more self-respect than most, right? Like he doesn't do this whole... Most guys, when they get into an argument with a girl, guys, they will get into an argument. I tell you what, please, guys, never argue with a girl. It is beyond a waste of time. You could literally go and do... anything else in life, and it would have more of a point than arguing with a girl, right? Because at the end of the day, guys, you have to realize when you're arguing, when you're putting energy into these negative situations, your return on that is nothing, and you're not going to be able to sit down at the end and she's going to go, oh, well, you know what, you're right, like that's just not how arguments go, guys. You know how you win arguments? You don't have them. Right, I forget the quote or whatever the case may be where it comes from, guys. But if you want to argue with, like, let's just say a girl, when girls argue, right, maybe she'll come to you with some stupid stuff like, oh, she wants you to do such and such chores even though you've already done them, or like, she'll just come to you with some BS, something quite plainly idiotic, right? If you engage with those idiotic points, you're just going to look like an idiot yourself, because you've stooped to the level of the fool. Again, I forget what the quote exactly was. But again, like, this guy's dating experience going to be vastly different to the average man, right? So for you to say, well, I don't think it's the average person's experience, how the hell would you know? right? Like, are you out here talking to these men like Fresh and Fit are? I really don't think so. And by the way, guys, if you haven't checked out Fresh and Fit's channel, I would encourage you to go and do so. If you like what I talk about here on this channel, you're going to really like what they have to say. But let's continue.
Yeah.
Yelling at guys, whatever. Yeah, it's always been like, I don't know if it's always been like that, but I know it's like that to some extent. I don't think that's reality for most people, though. You know what
Yeah, except it is.
I'm saying?
See, it's funny because I just think the same way until I saw the problems that with guys that we coach. So we coach now thousands of guys across the world, Australia, Canada, the States, even in the islands, right? And it's funny because a lot of these guys, like, they have these problems and it's kind of like they don't know where to go. So they come to us for these problems, and then we did as well. We're also in the game as well, dating girls every single day. So we see it live in our lives, plus from our students and from our coaching clients.
And the other thing too I want to say is that what we've been able to do is we've kind of been able to bridge the gap. So like we have hundreds of guys that we coach behind the scenes. We have a lot of supporters from shout out to Canada, Australia, New Zealand,
Even girls now.
England, even girls. Yeah, like pretty much in a lot of first world countries, right? And the problems are the same. And then we're bringing in women every single night. At this point, we've interviewed hundreds of women.
Girls.
So from training the men and then also bringing the women on and asking them what they like on an honest platform where, we tell them, if you lie, the chat's going to roast you and we're going to put on these blue hats, you're going to cap.
Right,
and they're honest about what they want. And it's very amazing to see why so many guys struggle, because the reality is this. The modern day women, right, just like I said before, where, about how they want a traditional man, but they themselves don't necessarily want to be traditional. They have certain standards that are fairly high, and quite frankly, sometimes are delusional.
Yeah, I think he's being a little bit generous here, where he says sometimes. But at the end of the day, guys, like this just goes to prove. So they just spent that little 40 seconds or whatever the case may be right there, explaining that. Look, it is the average guy's dating experience. Okay, if you guys ask around the average guy and you say, oh well. If you actually take the time to ask how men's relationships have gone and what they think happens, it all tends to fit under the same thing, right? It really does. Now, guys, if you haven't looked into, I believe it's pronounced Briffault's law, I would encourage you to go and look at that, guys. Women will engage in relationships for as long as it is beneficial. Okay, so none of this like you as a guy. It's just the way the world works, guys. If you want to get into a relationship, you have to have something of note. You have to build something. I don't care if that's a talent, a full career. Like, start where you got to start at the end of the day. But you as a man, you're expected to bring something to the table. So when Myron talks about delusion, these girls having delusional expectations, you can bet your behind that they are straight up delusional. A lot of these girls will be, guys, these girls will literally be walking around with, oh yeah, I'm a business owner, and you check and it's just some adult content online, or like they have like an eyelash business for drop shipping, right? And that's their business and life plan until they can, let's be honest, mooch off of a man, okay? Now, and the mooching off of the man happens later in life. But at the end of the day, going back to the initial point, guys, is like, this is the average man's dating experience. The average man's dating experience absolutely sucks. It absolutely does. And guys, I should really contact this man again who reached out to me on Patreon. But if you're a guy and you're choosing to use dating apps, first of all, it's going to be bad for your self-esteem in 90% of cases. It's going to be bad for your self-esteem. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that you're disadvantaged from the beginning. Now, am I saying that so that you can walk away and go cry about it? No. Right, it's not something to get angry over. It's like, who cares? But at least like have the tools and have an understanding of like how the dating market actually works. Let's continue.
They're higher than what they average women typically on a balance of probabilities in the West don't want an average man. They want a man that's above average a lot of times. When we ask girls, what do you want? Yeah. They pretty much describe the same avatar: 6 feet tall or higher at least, and $100,000 a year. Be confident. Be able to be, control a room, be ambitious. Like a lot of women describe a top like 5% a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And what happens is a lot of younger guys or guys that are average get ostracized from the dating marketplace. And we have a bunch of theories as to why we think this has happened that we can go into more detail if you like. But that's what I would say is a modern day woman that, at least from what we refer to, because a lot of women basically have these ideologies that I'm going to be a modern day woman. I'm going to be strong and independent. I'm going to work my career, whatever. But I still want a man to be traditional while I don't have to necessarily be traditional on my end. Now,
and the answer to that guys, the rebuttal that you should have as a man is certainly not. I'm not opening doors. I'm not paying for dates. I'm not going to do all of these things for you. If you're not at the bare minimum cooperative, okay? Like guys, I've said this on the channel before, and this goes for the 6 girls that are watching the channel as well. Yeah, we're not here. You don't get into relationships. You don't you don't start things with people who are not interested. You will save yourself so much headache if you just deal with the people who are interested in you. Now there's a guy there's a guy who does dating advice. His name is FitX Fearless on YouTube, guys. And this is his whole thing, right? This is his whole thing is like, don't be putting up with girls who have low interest. And it's hard to fault him for that. Like it really is, guys. Like, what is the point of welcoming someone into your life who has all of these expectations of you but brings nothing to the table, and with the promise of maybe they're going to like you if you do XYZ. This is the problem that I have with marriages as well. Like, this is one of the problems I have with marriages. I think that marriages are incredibly unfair for men from a legal standpoint. But one of the problems I really have with marriage, guys, is the fact that the dynamics in a marriage typically work like something like this. The wife will make demands of the husband, or and the guy will think, okay, well, if I do these demands, well, then surely I'll get rewarded with loyalty, bedroom funds, some cooperativeness at least, or something along those lines. And you know what men find, guys? Men find that the more that they do these things, the worse the situation actually gets for them. Like it literally, it just gets worse. Like the more you give in to this BS, the worse it gets for you as a man. Let's continue.
Going back to the agenda, what Fresh said, as far as like what we have going on, what we've been able to notice, and a lot of people in the sphere talk about this as well, is that I know you said that you think it's a man's world. I respectfully disagree. I think it's a gynocentric society. I think that we live in a world nowadays where the female way of thinking is correct. Schools are set up to basically have girls excel versus little boys not necessarily, because
how is that?
So school nowadays promotes, sitting still, taking tests, and all these types of things are better centered for girls to succeed versus little boys.
Actually, this is something I'm very interested in because of my children, right? Mm-hmm. And I go back and forth with, should I even let them go to school, mm-hmm. right? Because school was set up for factories, right? Mm-hmm. Creating factory workers.
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So it wasn't a gender thing. It was a legitimately like, we're going to make more employees.
Exactly.
We're cranking out workers. So, and that literally, and for a huge portion of that, when it started like that, women weren't even in the picture mm-hmm. to that extent.
But I would say that.
Yeah, and I mean, look at today though. Look at classrooms, guys. Look at classrooms in 2021. I would encourage you guys to just go into your local university campus, and how about we take a look at 2 things. One, go to the engineering class and you tell me how many women are in that engineering class, which by the way is a high-paying job, right? And then what I want you to do is I want you to go into the social sciences classes, and you tell me how many women are in those. Okay? So that's the first thing I want you to do. Okay, now that's not necessarily related to performance. Then what I want you to go is I want you to go to the administration and you ask about their enrollment statistics and have a look at the men compared to women. Guys, men are dropping out of university like damn flies, and you can't really blame them, right? You seriously absolutely cannot. So when girls want to come around and they want to say, oh well, how come we earn less money? Well, how come there are 2% engineers that are women? Right? That's one of the first questions you should ask yourself. And like this whole wage gap crap and oh my goodness, guys, if you believe the wage gap in 2021, I don't know what to tell you. But as far as the the disadvantageous position for boys, guys, if you lay out a structure, with like a reward structure, and that requires sitting still, taking tests, and being compliant, you're going to find that girls do better on average in that particular system, because you will get men are more disagreeable in general. You're always going to have a subset of men who are going to be like, well, I don't want to do this. Why the hell should I do this for you? Which is hard to argue with, right? Like, so you'll get a greater proportion of men asking, what's the point of this? And also men learn differently inherently. Like that, men learn typically better through physical experience. Right. But anyway, guys, we're going to leave today's video there. I'm going to leave the link to the original in the description, so be sure to go and check that out if you haven't already. Shout out to Fresh and Fit. If you guys like my channel, you'll probably like what they have to say, so be sure to go and check them out. Again, I don't particularly know this man. I have nothing against him, but we're just taking a look at his opinions today. But we're going to leave it there, guys. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure you leave a comment on your way out. Subscribe if you're new or if you're liking the videos. And as always, if you'd like to support the channel, the Patreon is there. So if you're looking to get more out of the channel, be sure to go and check that out, guys. But we're going to leave it there, and I will see you boys in the next one. Peace.